Well, hey there, friends. Welcome back to Fun Filtered. I'm Sarah, and today we are doing yet another Q&A episode, which I don't know about you, Heather, and I'll introduce you officially in a second. But we really love these because these are real questions from real authors who are just trying to figure out their next faithful step with their books
Mhm.
and with marketing their message. Today, we're actually all about connecting with local bookstores, how to promote multiple books without feeling overwhelmed, and how to keep your website current without constantly feeling like you need a major overhaul. And I think that question is especially timely considering we are walking through all things websites in BMA right now. I'm so glad to be here today. We're both so glad to be
We
here.
are.
And this is my lovely friend and co host, Heather Ryder. Take it
Aw,
away.
thank you, Sarah. Hello, everyone. I'm Heather, and I am also so glad to be here with you today. I do love these Q&A episodes as well because the questions are so very practical, and they're the kinds of things that authors really do wrestle with. Those questions like how to approach a bookstore, or how to make it easier for books to be found. What about my website? Why does my website already feel outdated? Do you feel like that, Sarah? Like that just things get outdated so quickly.
Yes,
Yeah.
because mine really is. 2018, y'all. Living in
Well,
2018.
I sometimes I feel like if we wait long enough, it will come back in style like fashion,
That's
right?
true. That's true.
Even
That's what I'm doing.
right.
That's it.
But in the meantime, it can be a little dry season while you wait for that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump right in with a question, Sarah, from Louise Gibson. So she has asked, I want to connect with local bookstores. So that's amazing right there. Louise, you are right where you're supposed to be. That desire to connect with those bookstores in your town. The one in her town, she says, is secular, but carries some Christian titles. Can you go into a bit more depth about what it is to do your homework to research any given bookstore? That's a great question.
Fantastic question. And Louise, this is brilliant because
Mhm.
doing your homework is really what helps you approach a bookstore as a thoughtful partner rather than just asking for that shelf space. And that distinction, that matters, right? It,
Mhm.
I mean, start by learning who the bookstore serves. And I think the appropriate first step here is visit the bookstore.
Mhm.
Walk through slowly and notice what kind of books they carry, especially in the category or the genre of your particular book. You could even, I think, ask yourselves, do they carry Christian titles? Because that tells you something right there. Do they carry devotionals, memoirs, children's books,
Mhm.
books by local authors? That really tends to give you clues and clarity as to whether or not your book is a natural fit for their customers. So if that's kind of the first step of doing your homework, I think the second step is to look at their website, look at their social media. Do they host author events, local author events in particular? Do they have book clubs? Those are big right now into trying to bring people in from the community. Do they have local author nights or community gatherings? Every bookstore, whether it is secular or Christian, has its own kind of personality, or as my kids would say, vibe.
Oh,
And your
yes.
right.
Yes.
And your goal is really to understand their culture before you approach them.
Mhm.
So, if that's the second step, then the third step would be you need to learn more about their specific process in hosting either you there at the store or carrying your book as part of their inventory, because most books bookstores buy through distributors. You know, there are some books, I would say, especially local, those independent bookstores will often carry books on consignment, and then some of them even have a formalized submission form. So the other thing I would say too is sometimes bookstores don't like people to come in unannounced for solicitation purposes. So remember, step one, that's not the time to ask questions and get information about submission. That is more you're doing your homework, you're understanding where they're coming from and who their customer base is. So I wanted to make sure I made that clear as well. So let's say, what is a great question to start this submission process answer kind of rolling? I think a professional way to ask it would be, what is your process for considering books by local authors? I think it shows respect. And when you reach out with that and you don't lead with, will you carry my book, which is just the same as when we're like, will you buy my book? Will you buy my book? Right?
Right.
It's all about me rather than about how can I serve your customer. You want to lead with your book being a good fit for their customer, and you want to lead with relationship. You might say something, if we're talking about what do you say after they ask the question, you might say something, whether in electronic communication or if you figured out it's okay for you to stop by. I'm a local author and I appreciate the way that your store serves our community. I noticed that you carry some faith-based books, and I wondered if mine might be a good fit for your customers. What's the best way to submit for consideration? That not only feels professional, but it also feels thoughtful. It feels considered. And it also shows that you have been paying attention to them, not just what you can get from them. So the key, I think, really is to think partnership, not placement. Bookstores are not just asking, is this a good book? What they're asking is, will this make sense for our customers? And will this author help me serve my community better? So be prepared, be gracious, and then show them why or how your book could serve their readers, and not just why you'd love to see it on their shelf. So hopefully that answers your question. But Heather, first of all, did you have anything you wanted to add there before we moved on to the next?
I just wanted to comment and say I love that. I love that approach. I love starting out by going to the bookstore, and maybe not even approaching it as though, what does this look like? Do I want my book on their shelf? That's important. Approach it as a customer. What is the customer experience when they go through, so that you're genuine when you go back and you talk to them at a different time? I would go as a customer first, and then at a separate time, go to talk to them once you really have a good picture. And, you know, this is probably going to be a few and far between, but make sure it's a bookstore you want to carry your book. Make sure that it will be, you know, it's going to honor your book well. If it's not a place that you would send your friends to potentially, or people that you meet to buy your book, then, you know, be careful there. But definitely go as a customer and experience the store as a customer. Also keeping in mind, what would it look like as the author to have your book there?
So good. And I love how you said, is this going to be a good fit for my book? Because that's something we do need to consider. And I will tell you that sometimes just pictures on their website don't really do the service or the same job as going in and getting a sense for what it's about, their culture, all of those things is really important to visit in person. So here's the next question, also from the lovely Linda Moore. Are you ready, Heather?
I am ready. I'm ready. I love Linda.
All right. Yeah, she's got some great questions. So she says, I need to be promoting my 4 books, but I'm overwhelmed with the idea of it all. And actually, that's more of a statement. But Heather, I think there's a question tucked in there as well.
Yes, and I do hear the question, and I imagine that promoting multiple books will feel overwhelming so quickly because it feels like they all need your attention right now. And in order to do them well, you need to pay attention to them all. But before we talk about promoting all the books, we didn't just want to give a generic answer. So we did a little checking into your online presence to make it very specific to Linda, but also we know that this will help anyone who is feeling overwhelmed with promoting their books, whether you have 1 book or 4 or more. So this is for Linda, but it's also for everyone else because I think that it's relatable across the board. So first of all, Linda, your website is beautiful and it clearly reflects your heart for helping women with the healing process. So your Facebook presence also points to that work that you do, which is incredible. So from what we could see there, the challenge is there's not a clear path for people to be able to discover your books. And so that actually may be really good news because it may not be in this situation that you actually need to do more marketing. But it may be more that people need a clearer path to be able to find your books. Those are 2 very different things and they require different attention. So I would say the first step is not to promote everything harder. So don't go out and feel like you just need to redo all of your marketing and come up with a whole new plan. The first step is more foundational. It's to make those books that you already have visible and then organize them around one simple reader journey. So don't treat them as 4 separate books that you have to promote equally. That'll just wear you out. You're doing 4 times the work, right? So instead, pull them together, organize them under a clear message like, I help women heal, write their story, and leave a legacy of faith. That will place all of the books within the same umbrella, and each of your books has a place within that journey. So if someone is in a season of healing and needs hope, point them to When Love Shows Up. If someone is ready to process her story and preserve the faith lessons that God has entrusted to her, point her to Write Your Story and Launch Your Legacy. But both situations, they are coming for the same reason. They're looking for answers in that greater healing process. And then the companion workbook can be paired with the legacy book as the practical work through this with me resource. So your first few steps are actually very simple. So on your website, you'll want to add a page for your books specifically so that people can see them. And then add a section on the homepage that would say something like, start with the book that meets you where you are. If you'll go in then to Facebook and update your cover image, your bio, and your make a pinned post so that people can immediately see that you're an author, and then they'll know where to find your books. And then, of course, make sure your free resource leads somewhere. So if someone were to download the Untold Secrets and How to Heal from Them, the follow-up emails should gently introduce your heart, serve that person well, and then point her to the book that will fit her best next step. So I want to go through those 4 things one more time, those 4 simple steps. So you're going to add a books page to your website, a specific page to your website for your books. And then a section on your homepage of your website that will say something like, start with a book that meets you where you are. Then you're going to go into Facebook and update your cover image, your bio, and make a pinned post so that people know who you are as an author right away. And then where to find your books as well. And we'll link back to your website. And then make sure that free resource will lead them somewhere with a follow-up email. Okay, so I really hope that the big light bulb moment for you would be that you don't need to market your 4 books all at one time. You need to think of them like a collaborative effort with one message that you market that has clear next steps. So pull in your audience with that one message, and then you can identify for them which path is better for them. People can't buy books that they don't know exist. And we think because we're really immersed in it, we're like, well, they're easy to find, like here, here, here. But you have to go from the perspective of someone who has never looked at your information before. So find people in your life that will test it out and say, if you came across my website, would you know how to find my books? And they'll be honest with you. Go and give you some feedback on that. So begin there. Make those books visible and connect them to the healing and the legacy work that you are already known for, and give those readers one clear path to follow. Okay. Sarah, do you have anything to add on to that?
Well, I love this idea that we're not just marketers, right? We're actually guides. We're actually guiding people not only to our book, but through our call to action, through our messages. And I think it's important to make that distinction, especially when we're talking about connecting with the community, whether that's electronically or in person. We need to make sure that we're not just throwing information at people, but we're actually guiding them to where we want them to go. And that might be through several steps, but we can't do that if we're not mindful of them. So I thought that was great, Heather.
That's a great point. And I think keeping in mind, that I think we stop ourselves because we're afraid we're selling or promoting ourselves too much. But you wrote a book that you want the message to connect with people. And so continue that out by being, like you said, guide them through the process. Find where there's some gaps of where somebody would be lost or confused because they just don't know how to navigate. Simple is better. Don't make your website overly complicated. Make sure that it's clear, because the end result is that you really do want to connect them to the resources that you have. And then, in the future too, if you're doing speaking, make sure that that is apparent on your website. All right. Well, that actually will lead perfectly into a follow-up question from Linda, because we're talking about making it visible and that clearer path forward. That website piece, that's huge. It's important. So Linda's follow-up question was that her website cost $5,000 for the latest upgrade, and now it feels outdated already. So how can she keep it current without a major overhaul and major money? That's like the bigger part of the question too.
Oh, yep. Oh, Linda, this question connects so closely to what Heather just talked about, what we both just talked about. When that website, especially, and I'm the queen of outdated websites, but when it feels like it's outdated, it's not necessarily because the design is outdated. Sometimes it is because like the messaging, the offers, the books, or the next steps need to be changed, but the website itself has not been updated to reflect where the author is now. And I think I referenced this just a little bit in our early days of jumping into our series, A Website That Connects. The way we need to approach our website is not we spend all this money, we're done, and we move on. It's meant to be this living, breathing thing that we tend to. It doesn't control us, but we tend to it to make sure those pathways really remain open and clear for our readers and customers. And what we noticed when we looked at your site, Linda, which is, may I just say once again, it's lovely. It's so beautiful. It clearly communicates your heart for wanting to help women, and that is vital. But if one of your goals is to sell books, the books need to be a part of that pathway, of that place where you're going to guide them to. This doesn't necessarily mean that you need a major overhaul. It means that the core structure of the website needs to just be connected a little bit so that your website reflects the full picture of your work, not just little bits and pieces. So your speaking, your coaching, your lead magnet, and those 4 books that you have worked so hard to publish, to write, needs to guide them there. Once that structure is in place, then keeping the site current should become much simpler. That you're not rebuilding a whole website every time something changes, because it's going to change. We don't stay stagnant in the same place. So you're just simply making content updates. And I will reiterate what Heather said just moments ago. Add a books page. That's a big one. Add a homepage section that helps visitors choose the book that meets them where they are. Again, being more reader focused rather than buy my book focused. And then last but not least, make sure that your lead magnet or your free resource leads naturally into your books, into your message, or into your coaching. Yeah. Then when you're trying to keep your site current, then you just simply update the site when you release a new book, change your lead magnet, shift your speaking topics, or have a new key invitation. The bones stay the same, the design stays the same. You're just updating it. That would be considered what we would call simple, normal maintenance of a website if you're an author or speaker. That shouldn't require $5,000 every time you update. I think, did you have something or a question that you were going to point to or something to say, Heather? I want to make sure I'm not
No, there is a comment from Devin, and I think this is important for everybody to remember. Like Devin said, she taught herself. It's not perfect, but I think it looks pretty. And in a world of ChatGPT and YouTube videos, it really wasn't that hard. So I do think that's an important thing to remember, that you can DIY your website, but there are also, if that terrifies you and you think, no, that is not, I don't care, all the ChatGPT and YouTube in the world won't help me, that's understandable as well. Remember, there are people in your life who may have a gift for that. There's certain generational strengths that you can pull from. But BMA, like that's part of the wonderful community of BMA is there are people in BMA who have walked the road or who have experimented or tried or succeeded at something that you're wondering about. And so don't underestimate the power of those connections to be able to save some money on things like your website, where you might be able to move from somebody else updating it to you being able to manage it, because then you can make adjustments in your own time, whatever time you want. So just a little sidebar, because I thought that was a great comment from Devin.
100% a great comment. Collaboration is not just for writing. And so keep that in mind. Any area that you're working to improve or working to create a clearer path to, there are other people who have walked that road. So collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. It is a beautiful thing. And here's the other thing too. I love that Devin said it doesn't have to be perfect. because that goes back to your website isn't meant to be the end all be all, and this is going to last you 20 years. It's meant to change and grow. And I think we can all testify to the fact that just like us, we're meant to not stay stuck in one place. So I think once you embrace that piece, that it's not going to be perfect and you can just keep tweaking and keep improving and keep adding as you go is really freeing for those of us who are scared of imperfection. So, okay, so we're going to go back. We're going to dial back into the question that we were answering for Linda. But again, Devin, amazing, amazing question. And I'm so glad that Heather saw it. So why is it that we are so scared of outdated websites? And the reality is it really isn't like, oh, her hair is from 1985. The reality is an outdated website can cause confusion. And confusion is our enemy, always our enemy. Sometimes a confusing website can actually cost you more. And this one hurts. It can cost you more than not having a website at all. Let me say that again. Sometimes having a confusing website can cost you more than not having a website at all. And here's the reason why, is because people assume they've seen the whole story and it doesn't reflect who you are. So if they come to your website and they never see your books, they may assume that books really aren't your gig, part of your ministry or part of your message. So again, the goal is not to constantly redo the website. The goal is to have a clear, flexible website that can grow with you. So get that foundation first. Make sure those books are visible. Make sure the reader journey is clear. And then create a simple rhythm of updating the site a few times a year, which isn't too bad. So it keeps reflecting what God is doing through your work now.
Yeah, I love that. And it's even more doable thinking a few times a year if you're not paying somebody to do it for you, or if you're paying somebody that, find a college student in your church who could help you with that. There's just so many resources out there, but it makes it a lot easier to do the updating when let's be honest, all things that require a big ticket or money are harder. They just require more. So such an important reminder, Sarah, that the answer isn't always do more, but sometimes the answer is make the path clearer. So I love that.
Exactly. And, I think the thing to remember too is whether you're reaching out to a bookstore or you're promoting multiple books or updating your website, clarity really does serve both you and the reader. Clarity is our friend. Confusion is our enemy.
Yes, so good. I don't think there were any questions sitting out there in the chat. Shelley, thank you so much for adding those questions to the chat so that everybody could see them.
We love you, Shelley Brown.
Shelley Brown. We missed your face. All right. So everyone joining us today, we love hearing from you and we love connecting with you. If you have more questions, you can continue to put them in the chat. We will answer those on future episodes as well. But we are so thankful that you took some time out of your day to join us today.
Yeah. And if you have questions you'd love for us to answer in future Fun Filtered episodes, please drop those in the comments too. This is for you. This is to answer the questions that matter to you. And we can't do that without your questions.
And again, if you have the question, there's a very good chance somebody else does as well. So we love to see those and hear those and be able to answer them. So thank you so much for joining us today on Fun Filtered.
We're cheering you on as you continue your writing, your publishing, your marketing, your speaking, your stewarding of the message that God entrusted to you.
Very good. Thank you so much, Sarah. It's been a good day. Thank you. And everyone, we will see you next time on Fun Filtered.
Take care.